Welcome to the Spearo Hangout, where we talk all things spearfishing, freediving and foraging. We're three guys from Devon in the UK who are excited to share some of their learnings from our spearfishing journey with you over the coming episodes. We bring in some special guests along the way to help spread some in-depth Spearo knowledge from some of the most experienced people in the scene.
Hey, how's it going, lads?
Hello, mate. All right?
Good evening, boys.
Yeah, I'm all good, man. Yeah, that start point event was really good, wasn't it?
Really nice. It was nice to get lots of like similar-minded people together. I know it was obviously for like raising money for the team, and that was all good and great and everything. But actually, just that chance to get a load of spearos together in one, not really room, one area, and chance to like learn some tips. Like I saw some really cool gear that I hadn't seen before.
Yeah.
Live demo. Yeah, I just had a lovely time. What about you guys?
Yeah, it was a good turnout as well, actually.
Really good. Yeah, very good.
It was really good, and also to have like the spearfishing celebrities there. Joe PK, obviously, Daniel Mann,
Anthony.
Well, yeah, obviously. I mean, I was fucking headlining. I'm the only reason that people came.
How much
you
money
did love that mic, didn't you?
Oh, he did.
I'm not even shitting you. All I am going to say versus that event is for everybody that did come, thanks for giving me such an easy ride. Like I was being as best as I possibly, like on my best behavior, trying not to swear, trying to be nice, not trying to offend everybody. And everyone silent. Like,
oh, mate,
thanks for the assistance.
It was a little cringy, I'm going to
lie. Awkward.
I
cut out the recording, to be honest.
I did. But I did actually kind of like it because it was making you squirm.
Fuck you.
How much money did it raise for Team GB? Are we allowed to say?
£1,078, I believe, or £87. One of the two. It was 1,070, 180-ish, which is a massive help for Team GB.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. That's such good going. And like it was a great event. So yeah, massive thanks to Start Point and Dan Man for organising it. And we had a great time. We met loads of listeners. One in particular, which stands out to me, and I just want to give him a quick shout out, is good old Riley. He's I don't know, did you guys get to meet Riley? He came down with his mum and dad.
Yeah,
and he was a young lad. He's super like frothing, as we coined from Shrek. He's just frothing young lad, and he was loving it. He was going over to Joe and Dan, and they were teaching him how to shuck scallops and all the rest of it. Yeah, he was great. And he listened to all our episodes, so undoubtedly he listened to this one. And I did apologise to his mom and dad for Anthony's language.
Sorry, Mum. Sorry, Dad.
They didn't seem to care too much, to be fair. But yeah, it was really cool to meet a lot of listeners, and it actually kind of like it makes you want to do it more, really. But sometimes I don't know about you lads, but you get a bit not deflated, but I don't know what the right word is, but you just think, is it worth carrying on? And then you meet loads of people like that, and you're like, actually, yeah, it's quite cool that people listen to it and get something out of it.
I think it's just knackered.
Yeah,
like, with the year that we've had, it morally has deflated us anyway because the fucking weather's been shit.
Yeah, for sure.
And then with the amount of responsibility we've taken on, the three of us, and then obviously everybody else in the BSA committee this year, it's like, yeah, it's a lot to take on. But yeah, Sunday was just awesome. Barclay's paella was really nice. I do believe that you two had the squids though. Oh, Barclay.
Not me. No.
Oh, you didn't? Oh no, I didn't either. Richard's just a pussy.
Yeah.
Even your body's a pussy.
I didn't blame Barkley. I just, I just had a bad stomach.
I had a bad stomach after paella, but it's not Barkley's fault because Barkley only made the paella for everybody else.
Well, I do eat other things as well. So
the only thing that I do want to talk about is, well, not the only thing I do want to talk about, but one of the other things that I can't stop thinking about is shucking scallops.
Oh, God, here we go. I knew he was going to bring this up.
I haven't
because
stopped thinking about it.
Dan Man praised him on his ability to shuck
No,
scallops.
No,
he did.
On
Instagram, Dan Man was like, I never knew you could shuck scallops this way. Shout out to Anthony for actually blah, blah. And I was thinking, oh, fuck.
Did he?
Yeah, he did, yeah. I don't think he tagged you.
And just to make a comment, Barkley also said that he'd never seen a cleaner top shell on a scallop either. His words were, how did you do that? It's like magic. But anyway,
So-
stop talking about me. No, it was more.
I
Not
thought,
absolutely
when I
swimming in
saw,
this.
when I saw that, I thought, fucking hell, here we go on the next episode.
It's fine. I've been to fucking Tenerife, and a doctor out there said that I'm perfecto. So I'm absolutely on board with everything. No, it was the so when I shock a scallop, I don't do an oyster because they're vile things. But a scallop, I always put the curved part of what I would call the bottom of the scallop in my hand so that it's anchored with the hinge at the back, so like nearest my fingers. I then put the knife in and use my thumb to guide the knife and pull it towards me. So I'm pulling the top or cutting through the top of the abductor muscle towards my hand, but I'm using my thumb to control the knife. So I'm never going to slip, never going to cut myself. But the way that Barkley and Dan Mann were doing it, and also Joe PK, and then I think I saw you doing it as well, Ben, was you've got the hinge of the scallop in kind of the, say, closer to your wrist, and you're shucking away in towards your little finger and your fourth finger. It was spinning, and I haven't been able to stop thinking about it the entire time because they like me having a conversation with them. They were like, no, the way you're doing it, you're definitely going to cut yourself. But I couldn't even stand there and watch them doing it because I was like, you're going to chop the end of your finger off. And it's just amazing how we all do different things the same thing in different ways. And I just didn't know
even
how
getting the getting the innards out as well. Everybody was doing it slightly differently as well, weren't they?
Yeah.
I didn't realize there were so many ways to shuck a scallop either, to be honest.
So many ways to skin a cat.
Yep.
Speaking of which, in other news, I now have a fucking cat.
Congratulations, I guess.
No, it's not.
Is that so you can feed it the innards of the scallops?
Well, I might as well, actually. No, so
that was a weird lead in. Like, where are we going with this?
No, I was waiting for it.
Where's the punchline?
No, I was kind of hoping for fucking sympathy, considering I had absolutely no real input on this. I made the mistake of saying to Rachel, "Yeah, of course. If you want a cat, you get a cat." The next day, we got a fucking cat.
So what you meant to say is, I'm a giant pussy, and I gave in to my missus.
Absolutely. Hence the reason I live in my office now. But on that note, sorry, I was expecting sympathy. I don't know why I expect that out of either of you. Breaks. We're stuck. We've had it for 2 days now. It is a little white and what does she fucking call it? Turtle shell. A Cornish sea turtle shell cat. And we can't think of a name for it. I'm an alcoholic, absolutely. So I'm going with kind of like Ginny, or I really like Maple. But listeners, cat names, please send them in because me and Rachel can't decide. We've had it 2 days and we still can't put a name on this bloody cat. I just call it Dickhead, but it's female, so I should probably.
It always amazes me the stuff that we bring to this podcast. Nothing to do with spearfishing whatsoever.
I have no idea why people listen to us.
What's spearfishing?
How are we like the largest European spearfishing podcast? I have no fucking clue.
Mate, I was sat on a fucking bench with Daniel Mann sat next to me with his fucking Instagram hairdo. So yeah, I was loving it.
Oh, we're back to that now. Oh, sorry.
We've gone back to it. We've gone back to it.
Sorry. Not that I definitely didn't see the Instagram story, and I definitely haven't been thinking about it the entire time. But I love you, Dan. You're my boyfriend.
Well, anyway, we're moving on. We got an awesome guest on, one of my fellow African countrymen tonight, and he's doing some awesome stuff over in Southsea. So we got Grant, and everyone knows him by Southsea Spearo. So I think we'll get him on and see what he's got to say. Hey, Grant, thanks for coming on, buddy. How you doing?
I'm all good. Cheers for gaming the show, guys.
Hey, Grant.
Yeah, no worries.
Welcome.
A fellow African. I like it.
Yeah, another African in the country.
I finally feel that we're it's half Pommies, half Africans tonight, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like the cricket all over again. So
I was going to
Grant,
say, if the cricket's anything to go by, we're going to have to start deporting you lot because it's not fair.
Grant, do you want to kick us off by telling everyone, all listeners, who you are and about yourself and your spearfishing journey as well?
Yeah, so obviously born and raised in Africa. I grew up on a farm out there, and I guess for a lot of people maybe in Africa, they kind of understand, there's a lot of wild animals and that. So I kind of grew up with quite a lot of hunting background. I mean, I shot my first animal when I was about 8 years old. And then from there, I guess I kind of had more the hunting fix, and I also enjoyed fishing a fishing rod, and kind of just grew up my whole life more plains game hunting and also fishing in local dams and rivers and that throughout Africa. And then about the age of 19, 20 or so, I thought, well, you know what, I want to kind of see the rest of the world, and decided to come to England to join the military, and then kind of moved over here and joined the military as such. And then I guess it's like almost most people's journeys kind of came to lockdown as such. I was obviously always fishing in the UK, catching nothing as a standard, I think, for most people. And I just thought, well, I'm spending like 15, 20 quid on bait here, blanking or catching like the odd school bass. I thought, well, I played water polo a lot at school. I was a very, very good swimmer. I always enjoyed the water, and I thought, well, why can't I kind of get in the water over here? And then just, started, obviously I live in South Sea. Obviously that's, I guess, where my spearfishing name sort of comes from, the South Sea Spearo. And I just thought, well, why can't I go out here? It's on my doorstep. Let me start diving as such. And I just started kind of going out, I bought a little wetsuit for about 50 quid, just go off the beach and just kind of like free dive a bit, and then kind of just did that through most of the lockdown period. And then I just get through YouTube, I'll probably give a shout at Dan, man, as everyone does. But yeah, he's got a lot of good videos and also guidance to, like, I guess, beginner spear fishermen. And just that kind of opened my eyes as to kind of what the potential was for the UK. And then I guess, yeah, and then I think that kind of caught the bug from there, because it's kind of coming from a hunting background, spearfishing has kind of got that combo of fishing and hunting together, because you're obviously having to hunt fish in the water. And I always say to a lot of my friends who actually are professional hunters back in Africa, I tell them it's actually even harder because you're having to hold your breath. You've got currents, you've got so many other elements thrown into it. I could see a herd of impala from, half a mile away, and I could just go, right, there's a wind direction downwind. And I can also take, like, say, a 300-400 meter shot if I wanted to. Spearfishing, you could go there and you could think this is a good spot. There could be no fish, or you could just be in an area and all of a sudden just like a school of bass has come out of nowhere and also kind of disappear really quickly. And I just quite love that in a way, just that you just don't know what could be down there on that next dive as such. It's just like the next unexpected as such. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I grew up in South Africa, so I get what you mean. It's a completely different way of life, just outdoors all the time. And we'll get back onto the hunting aspect in a while, because I've been following you for a while on Instagram, and I've seen you like progressing. It's quite cool to watch. And sort of the species the species that you're sort of starting to target, like the bream that you're starting to smash lately, and it does just take different tactics, doesn't it? But we'll get into that in a bit. So just going back to, obviously, like, you being from Zimbabwe, I saw that you were spearfishing over there. And was it a lake or was it a dam that you were spearfishing in?
Yeah, I guess you call it both, I guess. Yeah, it's big dams. So I started sort of my spearfishing journey, I guess, in Zim. I mean, I've got like a picture on Instagram where I'm like literally there, and just like I've just got like a face mask on, or just a mask, snorkel. I'm literally just there in my shorts, and it's like a pair of like small fins and just like an old school just barrel spear gun that, like, I think my dad gave me from like the 1990s as such. And it was tough then, I didn't see anything. My mask always fog up, not even like proper like treater mask. And I didn't really get much as such. So I guess that's when I sort of started in a way. But when I went back this last time, I went back in December back to Zimbabwe. I absolutely hammered the fish. I think I caught like 50 bream in one day on one of the days I went out there. Like, I absolutely just really hammered. And I got like my biggest fish as well, like biggest bream. Over there, they're like, we target, I think they just call them Talipia, but it's like Niloticus bream is like the main target species. They're really hard to catch by the rod, but the spear, as is everything spearfishing, it kind of always is a lot easier. And then I got my biggest freshwater bass as well, which is the largemouth bass. It's kind of actually, I guess, an imported bass. It's actually originally from America, but because the tropics are kind of the same from America to Zimbabwe, they kind of moved them over. And that was my biggest bass, and I've been fishing for bass there for 22 years as such. And yeah, I got that when I was out there, so it was just quite nice. And it's quite nice to see the similarity, because I've been obviously spearfishing over here for a good 4 years now, I'd say. And you can just see like going from a sea bass to a freshwater bass, and the similarities, the bass, they're quite curious. They come look at you. They kind of almost act the same way, but it's just quite interesting seeing that it's a similar species but different in a way, if that makes sense. So I found that quite interesting.
And what other species are you targeting out there? Is it just the bream and the bass, or?
For the main farm dams and that, you get also like catfish as such, but I wasn't really going for those. You can, if you go in the rivers, you can get like tigerfish there. And then there's like loads of other species there. You get like electric barbel, koopy, like also another whole bunch of bream there. But like in Zambezi River, if you go spearfishing there, you're going to get munched by a croc, like or hippos. Yeah, there's
that's why I was
everything over
asking. Yeah, that's why I was asking the question, because I thought, first of all, if you're going to shoot sort of like those types of fish, some of them have got some big teeth, right? Like some of them are quite sort of well known to be quite vicious anyway. So that'd be quite interesting. But also, I don't know where you were spearfishing, because as you just said, then some of the places around there are full of crocs and hippos and all sorts. So I mean, that's another league.
It's a bit like Jeremy Way, that I could say, like you have to go there, you have to kind of speak the local language. You have to ask like the African people that live in the area, like I always say like going in a corner, which is like, are there crocodiles living in this area? And they kind of like tell you yes or no as such. And then sometimes there might be one or two. There's crocs everywhere. And also, if I go then I can see a croc, I'm probably not going to really jump in the water. Crocodiles. It's one thing I always say. The difference between crocodiles and sharks. Crocodiles actually want to eat people, and they'll hunt you and eat you as such. Where normally shark attacks are kind of, they're normally by mistake as such. You normally look at all like kind of shark attacks, and not like the sharks intentionally. There is like that odd 1% or 2% out of fatalities, but most shark attacks is kind of like the person's been bitten as such by mistake in a way, because sharks, they're just kind of like curious creatures. Where crocodiles, when I used to go on fishing trips with my dad to Zambezi, every second guy you come across in the river is missing an arm, a leg, hands. It's quite common over there. Yeah, just get munched all the time.
Wow.
So what's it like hunting in freshwater compared to saltwater? Is it, I guess, like we've been to Vobster and done some training and stuff like that, and the amount of weight that you carry is different. I felt like it felt a little bit different in some way. I guess it's calmer, but like, do you find it especially different, or is it just another day?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Like, I'm used to diving for a lot of weight over here. I've got like, sometimes I think I dive with about 14 kgs of lead strapped to me. Yeah, I've got a lot of weight. It's just in Portsmouth, it's really shallow. We're looking at maxes like 5 meters, kind of where I'm diving. So weight's kind of my friend. I've got a lot, like about 6 kg weight vest. Then about 9 kgs on my belt as such. I just wanted that I'm sitting down there as such, and I just seem to find that I float quite a lot. So when I went to Zim, I needed like half of that, maybe even a quarter. I was only using about 3-4 kgs when I went down there. So that was kind of like, because I took a ton of lead with me when I went back home, thinking, this is kind of what I use over here. And obviously, freshwater, the density is completely different to saltwater. Hunting wise, obviously, I don't know if you guys seen some of my videos on my Instagram page. The hardest thing I find is over there, the visibility was quite tough. So you kind of just watching a blur, and then all of a sudden you kind of see a shadow in the distance. And it's kind of was like that, quite similar to, I guess, UK, or where I kind of dive a lot in the South Sea, such as the visit is never really great over here. It's probably one of the poorest dive locations. But I always look, if you start in the worst, it sort of makes you a better diver. If you're used to tough and rough conditions, you go anywhere. When I come to like Plymouth, Cornwall, I'm like, wow, it's like going Specsavers. I can see what's going on.
So true. Is it like a couple of meters or something like that?
In Zim, I'd say it's about 1.5 meters. I took a 62 centimeter gun with me, and I'd say, you're still shooting at like shapes and that.
Yeah, that's hard work, eh?
Yeah, but the nice thing is no currents, so you can just go like any time of the day. There's also no laws as such, so you can go spearfishing at night if you want to. You can kind of do whatever you want. There's also no catch limits or anything, so it's kind of like a free for all, to put it simply. Cool. So my mate was just like, mate, I need you to stock my freezer up, because he doesn't spearfish, and catching fish, as a lot of people, even in Zimbabwe, they struggle catching the fish. They just, especially as those Niloticus bream, they're just really hard to catch up a rod. So he was just like, mate, please, you know, and I think he said fish for the last 6 months as such. So it's just nice to kind of sort of help him out when I went back home.
Yeah, 100%. And is it like deep where you're spearfishing, or?
It was quite shallow, yeah. I was going about 7 meters max, really. Yeah, I wasn't kind of too deep. You know, I found when I went deep in that, I just went dark completely, just blacked out. So I found,
that's horrible,
I
isn't
kind of
it?
kept, and it gets a bit spooky when you go kind of past those depths. You kind of sort of just want to see what you're using. I'm used to going like quite low vis conditions, but when it just goes complete blackout, I'm like, man, you know, I can't see a thing now. Like, this is a bit ridiculous.
Well, especially with the fact that there might be a croc somewhere around there.
Yeah, that's the next thing, you know. You have to. Well, that was my mate is on Croc Watch. He was just there with me, and yeah, bless him for obviously taking me out in his car and obviously taking to all the dams and that kind of stuff. It was really nice that obviously when I went back this last time, I had a guy to like just sort of take me to the spots, but he was on Croc Watch. I was like, well, if you see a croc, just throw a stone at me or something like that, and kind of tell me to get out of the water, you know.
Big
I think we
responsibility.
should. Yeah, I think we should make a new challenge: go spearfishing at night and obviously in croc infested waters, and see who can actually stick it.
It is a bit eerie. And I went, you know, it gets so dark, and you just feel those extra elements kind of against you. But also I just love the excitement. You know, there's one thing about spearfishing when you go into like holes and caves, and that excitement just kind of like, you know, pushes you forward. And I always find if you just, as long as you're warm, that's the main thing. So I always make sure I just wear my 7 mil wetsuit. I even took it back to Zimbabwe with me, and it was like, the water's like 25 degrees over there.
I don't know if you've seen that that video going around on, I don't know whether it's YouTube Shorts or Instagram Reels or whatever they're fucking calling it nowadays, but there's a boat out on a river that you look down at the water and it is like thick chocolate milk, and they've got a side view depth finder, fish finder, one of those 3D ones, and in the 3D picture all you can see is the outline of this perfect crocodile, like arching up on the back of its tail up towards the boat. Like, how the like, you can't even see your fingertip if you put your fingertip in there, if you got the bollocks to, but that croc knows that the boat's there and he's looking like straight at it through 10 meters of water. It's like, fuck that. Like, sharks, one thing when you can see them. Crocs that you can't see in zero viz in their territory, nah, fuck that. Dynamite.
Yeah, I've seen a fair few monsters out there, I won't lie. And yeah, I've even had to be fishing, just all of a sudden you just turn behind you and there's just like a 15, 16 foot croc just chilling there, waiting for like someone to put their hands in the water. You know, it's quite eerie.
That leads us on to South Sea when you're saying about like the poor viz. Is it usually quite poor then? Is it? 'Cause, I mean, the videos normally look pretty poor viz. What like, is there loads of fish around there?
Yeah,
what's the currents like? Structure, is it pretty good spearfishing?
Yeah, so I'd start like saying South Sea, you know, it's a top fishing destination. You know, like I think the biggest sea bass in the country came from Portsmouth, which is like 18, 19 kgs or something stupid like that. So like an absolute monster kind of came out of here. But that was like quite a while back from what I was told. But back to the spearfishing, the problem we've got is just where Portsmouth is in the Isle of Wight, you kind of get all that water that kind of comes through the English Channel. It kind of gets caught in between the kind of islands there. And that just causes like super like strong currents. And this obviously with the strong currents, you just get the silt build up, and that just kind of creates really, really tough diving conditions. I've only seen out here maybe like 3 or 4 other spear fishermen. And when I was kind of really starting, yeah, I kind of sort of felt like I was in a bit of like a lone kind of area, and as such, you know, there just weren't other people that I'd see going out spearfishing. You know, when I've been down Cornwall, even Plymouth, you're always seeing sort of other people out spearfishing and that, so you can kind of like obviously see it's quite like a fishy area, and also like a lot of people doing it. Just over here, I just kind of felt like I was all by myself. But I just kind of took the embrace, you know, the viz. I've been in 0.5 meter viz, and I've been doing that loads of times to like, you know, a meter, and I'd probably say a good day out here is about 2 meters of viz max. It's kind of a good day in South Sea. So I've kind of got used to that as such. And then then we obviously always go, I normally go like sometimes the weekends go around Salisbury, Bognor Regis. They're the kind of like local spots for me. And then the odd trip down to like Weymouth and that kind of stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah,
Does that
nice one.
like low vis impact? Like it must do impact like your kind of technique. So like one thing I like to do is just sit on the surface and look for flatfish for like hours. Like I could do that all day, but you can't do that in 2 meters viz. Like you need 5-10 meters viz in order to do
Yeah.
that. So like, are you spending most of your time like going down to the bottom and bringing the fish in? I guess like grunting, or like how do you make the most of that viz?
Weirdly, and you guys are probably going to be like, "Wow, this is crazy." Like when I go down, like I actually try to hear the fish. The viz is that bad that you almost, seeing them. Obviously, you have to shoot it to see it, but like when I go down, the viz is bad. I try like just make no noise at all, and I try like just, I guess the word I'm going to use the word feel and like hear the fish. The bass, they obviously nosy, and I just try because they'll see you, they'll know that you've hit the bottom, and then all of a sudden 10, 15 seconds later, I'll just hear like, fish noises around me because they're kind of coming around. I'll just wait and wait and wait. And I'll just wait until I see one comes too close. And then I'll just try to take it like that. That's kind of sort of how I've been doing it.
That's cool.
Yeah, I come out 2 fish and I've shot some big fish like that as well. Next, a big 8-pound bass is like swims in front of you. You're like, whoa, that's a monster. And you just pull the trigger. And I use like, when it's like that, I have 3 spear guns. I have my 50, 62, and 85. I normally just taking my 50 when I'm doing that. And yeah, that's kind of how I do it.
And what you say, you're like hearing the fish? Like, are you listening to like the like clicking, bubbling? Like, how does it sound to you?
Yeah, I guess when they're moving fast, they kind of like their tails and that, they kind of, I think just the way they're moving through the water, you can kind of hear them like almost kicking as such. I guess you can kind of hear that, and they're just moving around. They might be bumping onto things as such. But yeah, I guess I'm like listening to all the sounds, but we can hear the fish coming, and then because they're coming so close, and the bass normally find they're coming close and then swim away, coming close, swim away. So they're just kind of like checking what you are because you come into their environment and you're kind of unknown. And yeah, as long as I can kind of hear the fish around me, then I at least know, okay, I'm in a fishy spot as such. And then it's just sort of a waiting game until you kind of obviously get that right one. The hardest thing I'd say is just making sure you don't shoot an undersized fish in that. It's, the viz is so hard, you can't go like, oh, that's a big fish, that's a small fish. So you have to kind of like sort of gauge the size a bit better. But yeah, I've done it a lot of times. That's my most local spot. So I'd be going there after work and that kind of stuff, and then I just kind of like just pick the choice of the day. And then, like I say, when it comes to weather conditions, sometimes I'm just like, I really want to get out, and the viz will be really crap, and I'm just like, well, I'm just gonna go anyway. I'm just gonna try to push through it. And I always think if I'm going on those tough conditions, when I get really good conditions, I appreciate them more, and normally is the case. So,
yeah, and it makes you a much better spear fisherman if you can fish in those kind of visibilities. There was a competition cancelled more because of the weather conditions recently, but we did have a debate about like at what visibility level, like is it 1 meter or 2 meters or 3 meters? Do you need for people to reliably shoot fish? I'm not sure what it is.
I always just look if I can see my fins. That's good enough for me.
Yeah, I think so. A good way to go.
Yeah,
I was gonna say the listeners will be able to point out the fair weather divers in the committee, I'm sure.
Let's not start this again.
No, it seems to be that that there's I don't know whether it's you guys from overseas, even though you've kind of probably been spoiled. But you guys have probably been more spoiled with viz than we have. But it seems like you're more prepared to get in the water, even with the shit viz, and like it's kind of like you got a bit of a different ethos from the UK divers, or some of the UK divers.
Well, I don't think I'm going to comment on this one because in my old age, I'm becoming a fair weather diver.
Such a bunch of old fuckers, honestly. I'm not going out. It's not 32 degrees.
Well, this leads on quite nicely, actually, to the fact that it's the Dorset Open this Saturday. Yeah. And last year, the Dorset Open, it was really bad conditions.
It wasn't that bad, though, was it?
Well, it was enough for me to be sick.
It was pretty rough, but we all caught fish.
It was enough for me to be sick. So it's you got to get out there and get in it if you want to win stuff and
absolutely.
be part of it and do whatever, don't you? And as you say, if you got to make the most of it anyway. I mean, we live in a country where we don't get the opportunity a lot of the time, so you have to make the most of it.
This year has just been shit, though.
Well,
Like,
Grant's been up bloody loads from his Instagram.
I just honestly, I look at if it's raining, I go. If it's windy, I go. I don't, even if the easterly winds, 20 mile an hour. There's a couple bays in there. Like it's one thing you learn areas you can sort of go, even in the tough conditions. And I almost try to throw excuses out the window, to be honest. I just go like, you know what, I'll go. I know now spots where I know they'll find fish, and I just go get it.
In your videos, there seems to be a lot of structure. So you diving like predominantly onto piers and stuff like that. Don't give any spots away, obviously.
I was waiting for like, where's he going in that? Navionics, it's the free app for everyone. I live in South Sea. I'm sure if a really good spear fisherman just went and looked at that, you'll find pretty much exactly where it is. I've been going in that. Yeah, piers, pinnacles. We have obviously the submarine barriers over here. That's also quite a good spot. So there's a spot to anyone that sort of wants to find something. And also piers, pinnacles,
submarine barriers. Sorry.
Yeah, so Portsmouth is one of the oldest naval bases. So out in the Solent, we actually have down South Sea, we have this big concrete structure. So about every 10 meters, there's a big bollard, which is about, say, 5 meters by 5 meters. Just a big concrete bollard, and we've got one every 10 meters or so. And there's about 50 of them that just go like literally in a straight line out to the ocean.
Oh shit!
Oh wow!
If you came at low tide, you can literally see it just clearly going out into the middle of the Solent, and that was it's an anti-submarine defense, but really nice structure for the bass. Just weirdly, I always notice there's a little channel between that structure, because obviously for boats they can't obviously see where those are. There's a little kind of gap that's where the boats go, that they have like the boats to go. The bass always seem to be there, so I have to go literally where all the boats have become flying through, going like full throttle, is like where the fish seem to always kind of like hiding. So I always find
that sounds amazing. Definitely.
I'm just looking at it now. It looks really cool. Yeah.
Well, that's the only spot that you lot are getting from this episode.
Like I said, the rest is just pinnacles, obviously piers, and then wrecks. I love diving onto shipwrecks, structures, and that kind of stuff. I just find there's always tons of fish there.
See, they still scare the shit out of me. Like when you go down, I like one of my local spots that shall not be named, the Glacier. Fuck you lot. Is when I get down on it, it's still eerie. Like I'm waiting for a dead body to float out of one of the little potholes or the little round glass holes. It's weird. But with wreck diving, are you sort of confident enough that you'll throw yourself in tight gaps? Do you do? I mean, I know we're not free divers, but do you do like swim throughs and stuff? Or
like there's one wreck that's really, really cool. I'll give the location. It's out in Pagham and that kind of stuff. And a lot of people obviously know about there. I mean, I'd say it's like, probably try and make sure you experience dive. It's not deep. It's only about 5 meters deep. But that's a really cool structure. You can kind of just swim right through the whole thing. Really cool caves. Obviously, tons of conger eels, the biggest ones I've seen in my life out there. And those are some cool ones. I know there's also some hairy ones. So normally if I'm going onto some of them, it's my first time, I normally just go down just for like a short dive. I'll just stay on the bottom for like say 10-15 seconds, just so I've still got some air in the lungs in case just there's a net or something, or some fishing line or some other snagging hazard down there that you weren't sort of prepared for. And then I just try to get into the rhythm. Once I saw what's built up, a few dives, then I can go like, right, okay, now for that one, like I say before, I could like swim right through that whole entire structure as such. And then just some of the footage you get out of it is absolutely amazing. When you look back on it, you just kind of like slowly creep up on the fish. And like I really enjoy kind of going on the wrecks and the pinnacles and that.
Once you've got that confidence and the area, you've got that mental map of once you get down there, where you've landed. And it's sort of that gives you that extra breath hold because you're at ease with it. I get that in some of my local spots with not wreck diving, but sort of some of the rocks and stuff. I know say 500 square meter area like the back of my hand now. I'm just like, I know where the bass are, and that's what Dave-O and all the older boys for their local stuff. That they'll go to a spot. And one of the things he calls it the Arches or McDonald's or something like that. But other burgers can be bought. And he'll just park his boat up, throw his anchor out, and come back with £10 bass. And it's like, fuck's sake. It's like the bass has booked the B&B and Dave's text them. and said, "Right, I'm coming out, come and get you later on this afternoon." And he hobbles off and goes and fucking smacks a £10 bass. But
Standard,
cool.
David.
One day,
What's
mate.
yeah, one day. What's your proudest catch to date? I mean, it could be overseas or in the UK. What's the one fish you're really proud of?
Yeah, I'll probably say my proudest catch. I recently went out to Cape Verde, and I got a decent sized wahoo over there. It was about 10, 12 kgs or so. But like I went out there for about 14 days, and the first 7 days I just didn't get anything. And like long days, I mean, we're talking 10 hours spearfishing, just literally out in the water, just non-stop. I didn't get a fish for the first 7 days, and when I finally got that fish, it just felt like the build-up and that kind of stuff, and just hours upon hours upon hours. I mean, I went over full suit. I ended up having to just use a half suit because I was getting so many rashes on the back of my knees from just finning around for like 5-6 hours a day, just trying and trying, and then I'll probably say I also got a decent size. I was my freshwater bass in Zimbabwe.
Yeah,
that's probably my next sort of best catch, that I sort of proudest moment for like spearfishing. UK wise, I've got tons of bass over here, but one thing that really irritates and grinds my gears, I still actually haven't got a £10 bass. And when you're telling me about guys, I just go there and just shoot them like every weekend and that, and I'm just like, how are they doing this? What am I missing out?
How old are you, Grant?
30 years old now.
30. You got another 2 and a bit 1,000 centuries to catch up with Dave.
Yeah, I shot probably 100+ bass last year. Like I got a lot last year. And
David does that in a day. No, he doesn't. I'm
that's,
joking.
That's keeping to the limits before someone goes like, oh, shooting like 10 bass a day. That's keeping to the limits of 2 fish a day and that. So I had like probably 60+ dives last year, but didn't get a £10 bass. And that just really kind of and I was like I was just hoping to get in that kind of cool club. I want to get a bass jack and like looking, it's the same size as your flippers as such. And
when you were saying earlier on about the fact that you can't really see, your viz, you're happy fishing in bad viz. Do you do much hole hunting?
Loads, yeah. Even in that, especially when I go in the wrecks and that, going to like the holes, slowly creeping up to the holes. Yeah, I've got a couple like holes. I've got some big bass out of. But yeah, and I've found a lot of the bigger bass I have come from the holes. Bognor Regis is a classic area. You've seen like people like Kevin Daly, Daniel Mann obviously also post a lot of videos of him going over there as well. The hole hunting is like the main show for Bognor Regis. I don't know if any of you guys have dived over there. It's a bit of a swim, but a nice reef and just full of holes and caves and that kind of stuff on the big reef they have out there.
Nice. So, much other species other than bass?
In Bognor Regis area, I'd say there's a lot of bream out there as well. I recently got a bream this last weekend when I was out there, so that's now sort of coming into target species I can try to get. I mean, I'd say they're probably the hardest of all species to kind of get in the UK. I've sort of found to kind of get as bream just because they love just keeping their distance. And normally I found in this kind of area of the UK, the viz is normally about 2 to 3 meters max. And I just find that the bream like to keep about 3 meters away from you. So, as soon as you go past that, you just don't really see them, or they just kind of like just disappear into the gloom. But yeah, lots of eels, tons of wrasse. I've seen monster wrasse.
What are the pollock?
Not many
like?
pollock. Yeah, the pollock. Yeah, I haven't really shot. I've shot. Probably the biggest pollock I got is probably about the legal size of a bass, maybe 40 centimeters. I haven't really got anything bigger than that. Like they just. I think the water, like I say, that's why I got so much weight on my back. Whenever I'm coming, like diving on Plymouth Cornwall, I'm dropping like about 2-3 kilos of weight, just because I'm no longer diving shallow. It's a thing that does sort of kind of get to me. Is like, especially when I went to Cape Verde. I went from diving 5 meters, which 5 to 10 meters, but they're 20-meter dives and that. So that was just kind of like a sort of a bit of a change because I wish there was deep areas for me to dive over here, but it's quite a shallow area, Portsmouth, and a lot of the structures I'm diving, they're just not that deep, 8 meters at the most and that kind of stuff. So yeah,
we need to go back to Cape Verde, right? So it's a bit of a standoff now. Anthony, what size was your wahoo?
320 kilos.
Oh wow!
It was about
it was smaller than
£32. No, it's 14 kilos.
Nice.
Why? What were you going to say?
Oh, I was just hoping Grant was bigger, to be honest.
How big's your dick, Grant?
No, guys,
How
let's
big
talk
was your
tonight.
How big was your wahoo?
My one was about 12 kgs, so it
That's
wasn't an absolute monster, but yeah,
such an amazing fight in them, and
that's the part that was most impressive. Just how powerful they are.
As soon as you shot it, it was like for me, I shot it, and it was kind of like the fish sort of went, what just happened? And then as soon as it realized it had been shot, fucking gone. And
Afterburners on, just
25 minutes, 30 minutes of fighting this thing. Yeah, amazing fish.
I'm just watching a video of you shooting or you handling an eel that you've shot, a big conger eel, a huge conger eel actually. What was that like?
Yeah, so it wasn't me actually that shot. It was my one dive, but I went to. But
okay.
We kind of like did like a tag team in a way, with it as such. And I kind of was like, I guess, the backup guy in case it all went wrong. But yeah, like a really cool experience. And like he obviously, to me, I don't really eat the eels. So I just said, look, mate, it's one thing for me, of even hunting that kind of stuff. I was always brought up like, if you're going to shoot something or pull the trigger, you need to make sure that's going to be on your plate as such. Don't just go and start killing everything in a way. So I was like, look, you can eat this eel, and he was like, oh, happy days, because eels you can see them and they just stay there, so it's not like it's going to really run away. But yeah, it was just quite a cool experience because it was his obviously biggest fish, and I saw like in the video you saw like just his excitement, and I kind of obviously sort of shared that, and that's something also I'm trying to do at the moment is get more people actually into spearfishing. I'm trying to train about 6 new divers actually in Portsmouth at the moment. Just giving them the chance to kind of get into spearfishing is one thing I sort of struggled when I first got into it. I don't even know about like the Frenchmen and all these guys that are doing courses and that. I just kind of just went and just kind of like just tried my own back as such. And then I kind of always wished there was just someone that could kind of just give me a wetsuit, some fins, a mask, and just give it a trial. And like these guys that bring out of me, I don't charge them anything. I literally give them the full kit, weight belts, because I luckily got enough spare to have like almost 2 kits, if that makes sense. So I kind of give them, I make sure they're about the same size as me as such. Sometimes some of the guys might be a bit fatter, so they have to like proper squeeze into like one of my wetsuits.
Don't talk about Richard like that, for God's sake. Love you, Richard.
I'll come over to you, mate, don't worry.
Yeah, and then I just kind of give them the full breakdown and try to get them in the water as such,
God, that's awesome. And actually, Rich did a similar thing to us for both me and Anthony. Not lending us his wetsuit because that just wouldn't work, would it? It'd be like,
oh wow! Now Ben,
you'd be the opposite. You'd be what? You're too big.
Don't be mean to him, Ben. For God's sake, Ben, you're so horrible.
Sorry, mate. Sorry.
I'm not giving either of you any spots for Saturday.
I was saying something nice in that you were really generous with us and like taking us out, even though we knew like literally nothing about spearfishing. And I think I caught a fish for another 2 months after going out with you. But like it was just really cool that someone was willing to take out a complete noob.
To be honest, I mostly do it because it's funny to laugh at people when they come out. Flopping around, to be honest.
I had that with one of the guys I took out about 3 weeks ago. I was like, "You happy with the weight?" And he jumped in and he just almost just started sinking. And I was like, okay, so that's way too much weight. And I literally just went and just like this, unstrapped his weight belt, and he was like, okay. But like, for some people, I mean, the water is just such an unnatural environment, But like in the back of me, I was like sort of like trying not to laugh in a way, There's this guy like almost quite literally drowning in a way as such, But I was just like, look, it's all cool. I normally stay at them and I kind of hone on them. I've got quite a nice spot. I normally take them around where the current's not too bad. And just give them a taste of the ocean, Like I kind of say, look, this is what spearfishing is like. I always wish there was that for me when I first started, because I kind of almost had to like just learn everything myself as such. So I can kind of go say, look, guys, one thing I do struggle with is just trying to teach new divers how to equalize. So many people are coming and they like just can't equalize, or they, and that's something that even now, I don't know if you guys got any pointers or anything like that, just, like how to, get, some people, they go like, I can only equalize my right ear, but not my left. And I'm just like,
So we
Professor
we
this,
went on
you know?
the Vobster course with David Meller quite recently, and
Yeah.
one of the things that he was telling Ben was about things like jaw movement and where you're what air you're using or where the air you're using is from as to the pressure that you're putting against your ears. David Meller is a great person to contact and get advice
Yeah.
from if you want to.
Yeah,
But
definitely will send
otherwise,
a message.
like YouTube. But Ben, talk us through a little bit about what you found from David and what you
Yeah, mate.
found
So,
helpful.
I mean, with David's course, he does like some online Zoom conversations before the actual day at Vobster. So I think we had 3 separate days or 2 separate days where he goes through like some exercises to get you used to like feeling your glottis. Like, I mean, I'd never even heard of a glottis. Still sounds weird saying it, but like getting you used to like the physiology of what's actually happening when you're equalizing. What I was going to say is I did see, and that was really great, and that was really useful. And going back to what Anthony was saying, I think what I was doing is kind of like pushing too hard. What David said is
Seen that
just
before as well, yeah.
like create like you don't need to like move your jaw. You don't need to push too hard, and you're going to force your ears if you do that. And actually, that made a huge difference for me when we went to Bobster. In that, I don't know, was it like 25 meters we went down to, something like that? And it, like before, I don't know, 8 meters, 10 meters would have been a bit of a struggle. So yeah, I think going on a course makes a huge difference. But what I was going to say is I saw a really cool video on Instagram the other day, and I will find it now and get back to you in what it was. It was basically like teaching you to, hang on, I'm going to get it the wrong way around. Frenzel, that's the right one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like 4 steps. It was like a 10-second video. I was like, oh yeah, like that just makes sense. And there's quite a lot of like freediving YouTubers like Adam Stern and people like that go into a lot more depth.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's actually quite a good topic of conversation because I actually had a chat with my nephew who's getting into free diving and spearfishing and everything else. And he was like talking to me about equalization, and he burst a couple of eardrums, wherever else. And it seems that a lot of people, obviously, and we know this already, they equalize with their lungs and not sort of with their throats, essentially.
Valsalva.
Yeah. So obviously that's a much harder way to equalize anyway. And I was trying to get him to equalize with his throat, and it's hats off to David Miller. It's not easy to do something like that. I mean, obviously he's an expert in his field, but I really struggle. So I do understand what you're saying, Grant, by like trying to teach people that side of it. It's not something that's easily teachable, I don't think, unless you are someone like David Miller. I mean, and by the way, David Miller, congrats, because he just set a new world record on his dive yesterday. But going back on topic, yeah, it's not something that's easily teachable. And I think what you guys just said about like watching YouTube videos and stuff like that is probably the best way to get them in that right direction, I think.
I think a tip that you could use to try and filter out from my own, I've always been able to Frenzel. I've never had a problem with equalization, but I think that's more to do with and again, the only thing I can put it on is my upbringing. Being in cars all the time and living in hilly places, I was equalizing a lot all the time. And I don't know whether it was just more natural to me, but get them to close their mouth, teeth together, relax their tongue, and then when they pinch their nose, without moving their stomach or chest, try and inflate their nostrils. I don't know if that makes sense. Like you're only trying to inflate your nostrils, and with that will then inflate and or pressurize your station tubes. Is that about as good as I can talk through my equalizing?
Yeah, I kind of say the same to them as well, as like it's just when they go like, well, I can only equalize one ear, or like they start telling me things. I'm just like, I can equalize fine. I've never had any issues. I'm pretty much like yourself. I've been diving or just being in the water for a long time, so I kind of know sort of what to do. I always say make sure you equalize on the surface first before going down. But like I always say, like the bread and butter of like spearfishing or even any form of diving is you have to equalize. I always say, like if you're feeling pressure in your ears and that, like don't push yourself.
It's
because,
too
like,
late if you're feeling pressure on your ears, really.
He's like, I almost say that to him, like, if you're feeling pressure on your ears, like, go back to the surface, like, you're almost too late as such.
Slow
But
down.
they almost complete noobs as such, that they almost have never almost done this as such, Like, I had one guy first one, we were just going out crabbing, and he's like, I've never equalized before in my life, and we were already like 100 meters or 200 meters out at sea. I was like, middle of the surf and that kind of stuff. Like, try like tell him like, oh, when you're in an airplane, like, you do that, and he's like, oh, you have to do that when you go underwater, and I'm just like almost scratching my head, like, geez, okay, And that, I almost thought that everyone kind of knew that as such, but not a lot of people know that, and that's just something that sort of opened my eyes that's so important, The last thing I want is someone to come and damage the ears permanently as such, So I always say, like, look, come do that, come just like, dive around, see what it's like, and then start like 1 meter, 2 meters, build it up, and then I just sort of try to give them a taste, because a lot of them, like, I tell them the stories, that they see my videos on Instagram, and they're just like, wow, that looks so amazing, like, I want to have a taste of it as such, get me in there. And then I do take them along, and then they really go like, geez, this is hard, like, wow, like, didn't realize.
I don't know if you guys get a problem with sort of over your diving, you get a problem with equalization, because I do, and it's always in my right ear. Like, about after say 10 dives, my right ear starts becoming sticky. So much so now, religiously, every other dive, I have to take my mask off and blow through my nose as hard as possible to try and sort of clear my sinuses. I don't know, do you guys get that?
Yeah, exactly the same, mate. And sometimes I just need to sit on the surface for 10-15 minutes and let it kind of work its way out. Biggest thing is hydration and relaxation. Like, you get those two things right, then a lot of things do fall into place.
Vodka and cocaine.
For you, mate.
Going back to what you were saying though about like taking newbies and stuff. We've had people on the podcast before who said that the only reason, well, not the only reason, but the main reason that you doing it, taking newbies out, was because in their local areas there was no one that was spearfishing, or they were just very cliquey. So to build a good support group and a good bunch of friends that like the same thing, they would take newbies out, sort of help them get going, so they had those people to go diving with. Is that also one of your reasons why you're doing it, or?
Yeah, I mean, geez, my most recent guy, Craig, he's become a good mate of mine. I mean, I literally met him on a dance floor in a flipping nightclub, and it was like, he was like, yeah, literally, like, this is honestly how I meet a lot of these people, is like maybe having a few beers and that kind of stuff, and then I just start chatting to someone, and they're like, hey, can you come out of here, such, and that sounds awesome. And he like grew up in Canada and was just like, he loves surfing, but he's like, mate, I've been searching for something that like gets me like in touch of like, like almost shuts off what happens like in reality of life, but like, just, you kind of obviously hunting and foraging.
Yeah.
And he just absolutely loves it. And it's just so cool watching him progress from just being like, I guess a novice diver. We'd like he literally dived down, touched the bottom for like seconds and come back up. He just got his first bass this last week in size 1 as well, and just like watching. And then he did, he's like doing long breath holds, like minute 32 minutes sometimes and that. So I've seen him do some decent dives in that. And yeah, I guess back to your question, it's just I'm just trying to like just give people that opportunity, because the thing about spearfishing, it is a very expensive sport to start off with. Fishing, you can go like to your local fishing shop, buy a rod for like 20-30 quid, go cast a line out, might catch a fish as such. In spearfishing, you're looking at like, even like as a starter kit, 600-700 quid, you got to get a decent suit, weights, fins, they might have gun, like there's so many accessories, especially with diving in the UK. It's so cold over here, you can't just go with like half of the kind of gear as such. So I kind of like almost give the guys everything fully kitted, and just go, look, this is like a little taste in a way. He's sort of caught onto it. I've got another friend as well who's still in the military, but he's also kind of catching onto it as well. And yeah, I'm just trying like to sort of spread the love, like I don't want it that, oh, you must, go buy yourself and fork out this mountain of money on gear, because some people, they don't know that this is like the thing for them. And also, if I start saying, oh, you have to go spend 500 quid on us like a pair of wetsuit, fins and a weight belt and that kind of stuff, it's a lot to ask, and they kind of still in that, well, is this what I really want to do? Is this for me as such?
You're going to be so pissed off when one of those newbies shoots a 10-pound bass though.
I'm waiting for it, yeah.
So me and Danny are pairing up for this week's Saturday comp, and me and him have both sort of had this like weird conversation where he texts me and he's like, oh, I don't know if I'm up for diving in this area. What do you think? And I was like, oh, thank fuck you said that, because I don't really feel like diving in that area either. And he was like, "Why is that?" I was like, "Oh, because I'm so unfit at the minute, and I haven't been diving much." He's like, "Oh, thank fuck you said that, mate. Same here." And I'm like, "Oh, that's awesome."
Even
But,
though we rip the shit out of you, I certainly wouldn't say that you're fat. I would just you're just a big lad. I wouldn't call you fat. Unfit,
well,
unfit,
thank you for the
probably.
yeah, unfit definitely. Thank you for the compliment, man. I
But
appreciate
then
that.
That's the nicest thing you've ever
big
said
lad.
to him.
That is the nicest thing he's ever said to me.
No, you're not
Yeah.
fat. You're a big bone covered in meat and gravy.
Me and gravy. Yeah, so like the one topic that I put on here for tonight's conversation, Grant, is because I'm like super interested, is spearfishing off a subboard. I saw that you do that quite a bit. Like, I want, yeah. How'd you find it? And have you got any like tips and tricks?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely recommend it to a lot of people. Obviously, you can, I almost feel like a paddleboard's made for spearfishing. It's a nice open deck, wet platform, so it's not like, say, a kayak or, I don't know, like a canoe as such, where you have to kind of like climb in as such. You can literally just jump straight on top of it. If you kind of go up the back of it, it's perfect for it, and it kind of just gives you a nice resting platform, especially if you're going to do like, say, a 4 or 5 hour kind of spearfishing session. You just can get out the water, sit, have some food in that. Really good. I also made some notes here actually on kind of like some tips to maybe say the thing for like a subboard is obviously a lot of people go like, where'd you put the flag? Where'd you put the flag? And that I actually found the best thing. I just got literally like, the funnels you pour like fuel or oil and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You got on the front of the board where you can obviously, and that's perfect for storage. You can just slide your fin straight inside that, put your 2 guns. I normally just go with the strings on, just put the funnel upside down, and you just kind of like just put the bands over that and just put one other side, like in the cross section, just literally like kind of thread it around the funnel, and just literally clip your flag straight in that. Works absolute treat, and that's just like a simple solution to like, I don't know, either having to take another kind of like float with a flag on it, or such. Because the next thing is if you are going on a paddleboard, if the Coast Guard or anyone sees it's an empty paddleboard, they're going to go like, well, what's going on? Like, you're normally meant to see a person on a paddleboard, so they're going to straight away, is someone fall in the water, is someone in emergency, and that kind of stuff. I'm sure a lot of you seen people have had experience of like, I've had it personally. I was once with an ex-girlfriend, told her I'd be back in 2-3 hours time, came back 6 hours later. The Coast Guard kind of sent out for me, and it was just like, sorry, so my note to that is just never tell anyone to kind of exact time you can be back at, because time seems to disappear when you go diving. But obviously I try to respect the dive flags and that kind of stuff. Not many people really know about them as such and what they mean, but that's just kind of like one of my sort of top tips for there. Obviously on the wind, when you're on the paddleboard, you are like a big sail. So another tip for that I'd say is, if you are going, say, in windy conditions, say like 10-mile-an-hour winds and above, actually get off the board and then just kick it like a normal kind of like a float. So you can almost just imagine just going on a bigger float as such, and they go really perfectly fine like that. And you can kind of just go into the wind a lot easier. So if anyone is out there, it's obviously, say, spearfishing, paddleboarding, and is struggling getting from spot to spot, so fine, actually just get kicking it along. You go much faster like that. And I found another one that's also quite handy for the anchor. I got one of those they're using scuba, the SMB reels. I think that's the word they're using for. Absolute game changer. Like, they're like so perfect because you can just get it the right adjusted length, clips off there, perfect. You don't have to like have rigging line everywhere. They always end up in an absolute entanglement, and there's always a massive knot mess going out the back. I just find get the spot, just open the reel straight there. Exactly the depth. Happy days. Your float's anchored off as such. So I'd probably say those are like my main sort of top tips really for like paddleboard spearfishing, and just get like sort of a dry bag that works, which I'm still yet to find one because they're waiting to leak.
When you go out on the subboard, then are you taking another float, or are you just using that as your main float with your main dive flag, and you're sort of just diving around it, anchored it, and diving around it basically?
That's exactly it. So I just go to the spot. I normally got an avionics literally on my phone there, so I'm just literally just cruising along, and I just wait until I'm over like a wreck as such. Drop the anchor straight away onto the wreck there, kind of anchor it up. Nice thing on the board, you can literally have a really nice breathe up. When you can sit down and almost breathe up on the board. That makes sense. Like almost like you see like those free divers where they're like breathing up, like sitting down as such before they go for their like, I don't know, trying to like break their world record depth. It makes such a difference. You can just literally just lay there. You not have to use any energy as such. I find those are when you get your really good breathe ups. And I always find when you're hitting wrecks, pinnacles, the first dive is always the best dive because the fish are just the nosiest. Then they're not spook checked. So
yeah.
I'd probably say that's like with paddleboarding, and it's quite simple. And also paddleboards are quite cheap as well. You can get them for like 100, 150 pounds, like on second hand as well. I wouldn't say like to anyone buy a really expensive one. You're not really using for paddleboarding as such. You're just using it as like a transport means to get from like one spot to the next.
Nice. Fair enough.
And am I right in thinking you bought a boat, or is that your mate's
Yes,
boat?
yes. And I mean, mate, this is actually the guy that I'm trying to, Craig. He just said to me, man, because he just hates also the paddleboarding. It can get tiring as well. So you get into some of the spots and you're tired, much like shore diving, fin diving. So you're getting out your spot now, you're actually blowing. Like now you have to wait like 5-10 minutes to kind of get your heart rate down. And that kind of obviously, so he just said, look, mate, like, do you want to get a boat in that? And it just also opens up, as you guys obviously. So we just got like a little sib together. It's got a little 6 horsepower on the back, perfect for what we need. He's got a little shed we keep it in. And I find that's just perfect for what we need, especially for like Bognor Regis, Salsey area. Those are kind of like the close spots to me. There's just so many wrecks out there, pinnacles full of fish. I mean, we had a really good weekend this last one. 4 bass and 1 sea bream. So decent day out as such.
Fantastic.
Amazing, man. And so going on to gear a bit now, what gear are you using in the UK specifically, other than stuff that you wouldn't use back home in Zimbabwe? Are you using shorter guns in Zimbabwe, or?
Yeah, so the UK, I've got a Salvamar Metal 85. I like to have those, like, hopefully my main gun. That's why I know it's a good day if I'm using that gun. I actually built a custom gun, so I can't really give a brand name to it. That's just a custom 62. I actually wish I made 65 because buying spears for gun, I realized I only put them in set lengths. So when I first made it, I actually also made the spear, and that was an absolute nightmare because I snapped about 3 drill bits trying to, like, obviously drill the hole for the flopper. And then I just realized after that, I was like, I'm never doing this again. But it's quite nice to actually make a personal gun as such. And then I just got my little 50 for when the visitors absolutely like pants. And I remember last year I used that a lot, the little 50.
Nice.
But that's all my main setup. Obviously, I use a 7mm suit all year round. I've got 2 sets of fins. I use one like really old Cressy pair for when I dive on the piers and that, because they just get absolutely trashed. And then I've just got a pair of carbons for when I go out in the open water. And then I have to say it's sort of the same basic setup. I find the cold really gets to me. I think most people from Africa hate the cold. Growing up in a warm climate, I'm just used to like 30 degrees. I'm happy. Anything sort of cold than that, I'm just like, well, I'm not happy. And especially beginning of the season when it's like the water temperature is like 9-10 degrees. So I've got like quite a decent wetsuit. That I find with that wetsuit, obviously it makes it super buoyant. So that's why I think I also needed the extra weight for that. And then I can't try to think of any other sort of gear setup that I've got like a couple floats. Got one of those ones that you kind of like lay on top of. They're quite good actually. I find, like, especially doing like a long distance dive. And then just a couple like the standard kind of floats. And then one thing I did do that was quite good. I've got a weight vest, and I put on the weight vest, I've actually sewn one of these like line cutters. They're kind of like I think also the scuba divers like using them, but they're kind of designed for cutting rope. They kind of like almost look like a inverted V. I don't know if you've seen those. I've actually like sewn that to the front of my weight vest. So when I kind of dive now, I've almost got 3 knives. I've got one on the foot, arm, and on my vest, because I had a bit of a near miss once that I guess I could almost died from. They kind of gave me a bit of a
What happened there, Grant, if you don't mind?
I guess we're going on to the stories of the near misses, I guess.
Did
that
Craig
was when I was
tie you
learning how
up?
to dive. And I went under a pier, and I got hooked on, guys use feathers for fishing. And as I was down there, a guy's fishing feather like wrapped right around my whole leg. And I never even had a knife on me then when I was just learning how to dive. I was just kind of almost free diving, just snorkeling about. And as I was trying to get back to the surface, the line obviously like stopped me getting back to the surface. And I was about maybe 7 meters deep. And luckily I was actually able to snap that line with my hands. So after that, I always said anyone I take out diving, I like give them a knife, and I make sure they can take the knife out. I'm like, look, this is like, your lifeline as such. You just never know what you're going to encounter underwater. And I always say, like, almost like safety equipment, I always say that's like absolute paramount. Like, and that's why I always take 2 knives minimum when I go, because I've seen a lot of guys that just go 1 knife. But I always say, well, I even saw one of my mates, he literally bought a knife and lost it in about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And I always go like, well, no, you lost your knife. You no longer have a knife now as such. And I just said that's probably like your main thing. So after that, that was just like a massive eye opener. I always carry 2 knives, and then obviously now from that, I just carry the one there on my chest as such, just in case. You just never know. And obviously, since we're holding our breath, we just don't have time underwater to kind of sort of deal situations like, say, a scuba diver does, where you can just chill out, relax, and that. Us, there's just always that countdown ticking clock. And you just got to always think of like, what's the worst that can happen, and am I prepared for that as such?
And with sorry, Rich, with the newer divers that you take out, are you, when you're, because I mean, I know that you're saying that you dive 5 meters. In my opinion, 14 kilos is a lot of weight, even if you're wearing a 7 mil. How do you go about sort of checking the weights of the newbies? Do you know how to do your dive weights?
They're not going as heavy as me. Like I only give them about 7 kgs, and I always take about an extra kg, 2 kgs extra just in case. So like I normally start them off light, and then just kind of like build them up with weight. So I just go like, look, how are you doing? Because also the weights I get is an old wetsuit. So I think also in time wetsuits, they slowly perish, and they kind of, I think that 7 mils are probably like a 5 mil, the one that I kind of lend out to them. Yeah, they just crush, I guess. They just wear out over time. And so I just kind of like start them off like obviously light as such, and then just build them up. And then I say, look, with us, weight, as for me, as I realize, weight is your friend. Like you need to have weight to get down there to be calm. You don't want to be kind of fighting to be on the bottom. That's pretty much why I go so heavy, because and sometimes I'm diving in like 2 meters of water, maybe even like 1. So like so that's why I need so much, because I want to be down, and I want to be laying on that bottom and not moving a muscle. I don't want to be like trying to like force myself to get down there.
So all I'd say is, from the sort of freediving courses that I've been on, and from the very first sort of inception of me getting into spearfishing, one of the first things I ever did was making sure that my weighting was correct. Now, obviously, I was going for neutral buoyancy at 10 meters. So you've got to add a little bit more if you're diving, 5 meters, 2 meters, especially. But the technique that I was shown by Emma Farrell of Go Freediving was, you go out, you've got your expected weight. So I was in a brand new 7 mil twin skin. It was one of the start point suits, and I'd already kind of put myself up to 11 or 12 kilos, because I was only used to diving 3 or 4 meters. I was completely fresh, completely new. And when I went out with Emma, she was like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, that's way too much weight. Your duck dive is shit, so we need to sort that out. But the way to test for 10 meters neutral is to put your weight belt on, exhale completely while you're vertical in the water, so you're sat on the surface, and the water shouldn't go up to your nose. So just above your mouth, so just above your snorkel, but it shouldn't touch your nose. And that's how you weight somebody specifically really quickly. Then from there, you can add weight if they're finding, if you're diving down to 5 meters. But I don't know. The only reason I was saying it is I don't know whether you'd have ever heard of that or seen it.
I have heard of that, and like I say, like this is probably like they'll probably look at this and like I don't know, like, oh, that's ridiculous and like stuff. But like I'm just diving so shallow sometimes. I just need that weight to keep me down there, because like I'll dive down there, but to lay on the bottom and like 2 meters of depth, where you're not moving and that kind of stuff, and your body's staying down there, you have to be heavy, and that's kind of, I guess, sort of sounds as a sacrifice, because obviously I know like now, I am probably like negatively buoyant even sometimes near the surface as such, which is obviously, I guess, sometimes sort of dangerous as such. But I do, when I'm diving a lot, or like going to I drop and move weights around a lot. I'll be dropping weights off my belt. Sometimes I also move them out my vest as such. So I've got used to that. And when I was in Cape Verde, I was dropping weights all the time, and that's just depending on the areas and that kind of stuff. So I've got used to that as such. But I like to sort of, the last thing I want to be doing is not, I hate it just when you go down there, and I've seen it by other divers that have also bought my awesome guy that I've taken out, Craig. He always underweight, and I'd always end up having to give him my weight vest as such, and then it'd just be like, my dive's now kind of compromised to sort of help him out. And then it's just, now I'm not heavy enough to go down there, or I'd go down there, but, I just wouldn't feel like I'm having to use energy to try to stay down and like hold on to things to keep me down as such, which is not really what you want to be doing.
I do really like the idea of being able to be neutral at 5 or even 2 meters. I guess it's a balance, isn't it, between safety and being comfortable in there. And for me, I think weighting myself for 5 meters is probably like a risk too far. But everybody's different, and everybody's got to make their own decisions, right? It's a risky sport, so
it is one of those. Like I look at where I dive all the time. That's just the common depth. Like it's 5 meters. It's almost like, especially my local spot that's right down the road from me. It's 5 meters your deepest dive as such. So I have to kind of, for me, like if I start doing 10-meter dives and beyond, then I obviously drop some weights in that. But for me, that's just kind of like my local spot as such, that I always have to kind of be a bit heavier as such. But I do always say to people,
that's where you're saying, where your experience sort of shines through. And I suppose your equipment, when you were talking about earlier on your SUP, you've got the ability, you're not just using a torpedo float. So you've got the ability to take the dive weights off when you get to 5, and then suddenly you're like, actually, no, I'm now in 10. So you can rip, 2-3 kilos off and throw them on the SUP. No, that's cool. Reactive.
And are you carrying, are you carrying any other safety gear? Because I know a lot of African divers tend to carry tourniquets and things like this. Yeah, shotguns.
Tourniquet, shotgun.
You carrying a tourniquet or anything, or any other safety gear with you?
Where is this? In Africa or in the UK? I normally just carry my knives. I guess is my main safety kind of gear. That's my main one, I'd say. And obviously I've got my spear guns.
Yeah.
I kind of feel safe enough.
Yeah, I mean the only reason I asked is because we've talked about this before, haven't we, lads, about tourniquets? And there was a guy in our club, I won't name names and I won't say what happened to him, just out of respect, but he recently got into a bit of an accident spearfishing. No, not, I don't know if you can say any fault for his own, probably not. It's just a location. And it was quite a bad accident where he possibly nearly could have died. And it just made me think, like, if he had a tourniquet to hand, that could potentially would have could have saved his life. I mean, he didn't die. Obviously, he could have. He was very close to having a major incident. And if he did have that major incident, then having a tourniquet would have just made could have saved him basically.
What did he do? Did he cut it?
I was going to say it wasn't a limb, though, was it?
Did he cut his little finger?
No, he nearly perforated his main artery in his leg.
Oh, it was his leg. Jeez.
It was 4 millimeters away from his main artery.
What did he do? Shoot himself?
No, it didn't.
Someone else shot him.
No, it wasn't anything like that. It was just a freak accident where the spear gun obviously landed up in his leg. But I won't go into it to speak to him and make sure he's happy with me discussing it.
But I promise I wasn't there. I mean, I'm one known for putting loaded spear guns down next to lobster
we
holes.
all stay away from you.
Oh mate, we keep this as real. But what I'm saying is, like, even though, right, so obviously all the Australians and South Africans, they all carry tourniquets because of obvious things like sharks. But end of the day, like, we've still got hazards, right? So we've still got boats that can hit us, prop hits us, gives us a deep cut, whatever. An incident like that happens to one of the club guys, and he's by himself in a very remote location. And if he had a tourniquet and that did sort of go, badly wrong, then he could have saved his life, And I think even though we're in a sort of safer climate than the rest of them, we should carry things like that.
I bought a medical kit for my boat, just for that kind of thing. And I was pretty sure it's got a tourniquet. I certainly looked for one that did, just in case. I probably wouldn't have a clue how to use it, though, to be honest. I guess it's fairly straightforward.
It's not just having the equipment; it's having the training. It's the same as like when you're buddy spearfishing, which everybody really should be doing. I know a lot of people in the UK don't, but if you're buddying, like with what you're saying, Grant, you're taking out a newbie, you are the experience, you're the skill, you're the savior if shit hits the fan. That's where your training comes in. But if you get in trouble while you're out with somebody that isn't experienced, you're fucked. But you're sort of relying on your thing. And it's like, yeah, it's the thing with the tourniquets is like you can give everybody a tourniquet. How many people know how to use one? I do, luckily, but
Well,
just 'cause I know everything.
it's better than nothing. I'm definitely going to get one for my float. 100%. Just keep it on my float from now on.
Yeah,
Indoor.
it's a good
Just in
idea,
case,
and it's something
yeah.
I've never actually thought about really. You know, like I always look at the biggest hazard to like spearfishing is blacking out. You know, like
Yeah.
just like the ultimate, like you know, what can go wrong? And I always say to people like that is the ultimate that can go wrong is you black out as such. You know, and but yeah, like we say with like other injuries and that, I've seen a few people cut themselves when they try like, you know, I don't know, kill a fish or like, you know, put a fish out of his misery and they kind of like slip and then stab their hands and that kind of stuff. I've seen a couple of videos that come out, but no major ones that I've kind of obviously come across. But I'll definitely obviously get something like that because I'm always, for me, safety is like, that's why I've got the sort of the line cutters on the vest and that.
Yeah.
Because obviously I had my sort of near miss there. That you know that could have gone really wrong. You know, that was like really thick braid line or like, you know, really thick trace. Yeah, I might not be yet obviously and have this kind of like, you know, conversation with you guys. It's one of those things I always say like to people, like you really got to respect the ocean, and there's a lot of sort of snagging things out there that, you know, just can, yeah, who knows what can happen as such.
Can you use a tourniquet instead of a pisset?
Instead of
I'm
a
just
pisset, you're gonna be fucked with your one. Oh, you've got one. Sorry. My one.
I should probably just get like a spearfishing catheter. Well, I suppose that's what a pisset is, really.
Yeah.
Suppose.
I was just thinking, I've just got a bunch of cable ties. I'll just take a bunch of those on. Fucking cable ties, like one leg, you know.
I don't think they do cable ties small enough for me, but never mind. So going on from gear, Rich was talking earlier on and about your Wahoo. What's the difference that you find in gear here versus like when you shot the Wahoo?
Oh yeah, that was mega different. You know, when I went to Cape Verde, you know, like my 85, which I class as a big gun, was like a toy out there. Like literally, I was seeing people using like 160, 170 centimeter guns, like just absolute monsters. And you're like, geesh. I took a 110 Rob Allen, and that was still like a toy. I kind of feel if anyone's going to go out blue water spearfishing, you know, the saying goes, is the minimum you should be taking. Maybe like a 140, 150, I'd kind of recommend, just because, you know, these guys, the fish you're seeing there, you're taking 5-meter shots, even 6-meter shots. I saw a guy take a 6-meter shot at a wahoo and got it with like an invert roller, and that was a 125. And I was just really impressed that he could actually, like, you know, I've just never seen someone shoot a fish that far away. Almost, it was like, can spear guns actually shoot that far? You know, it's something that we don't really deal with in this country. You know, like 2 meters, 3 meters is kind of your max shot. You know, there, you know, I don't even know if a spear gun's powerful to like shoot 5 meters or 6 meters as such. And that was just quite a bit of an eye opener. And then, yeah, breakaway rigs. You know, you have to obviously have that sort of setup for, especially the pelagic fish as such. You know, you don't really use reels over there, and that everything's a straight breakaway onto like a bungee cord. And I was quite fortunate. The guy went out there, and them are really experienced. I just found him on Facebook and just went like, right, you know, and he's actually just like almost a commercial fisherman that just likes spearfishing as such. And he just kind of took me on his arm. I just went down his little boat, proper like dugout kind of boat, nothing fancy, but I quite like that in a way. And you just go out for the day there, and they just take you to those common spots. The thing I actually found really amazing, you just go there in the middle of the ocean, and he just works off in the distance. You can just see like these mountain tops. And he's like, yeah, we're over a wreck right now. I'm like, no navionics, no fish finding, nothing. And you're like, how the hell? And then you just swim down, all of a sudden you just see this huge school of like amberjack, and, you know, just like a whole school of fish. So you kind of know that you're over like a sort of wreck area. Yeah, I found that quite interesting. Nice. Just, yeah, a whole new dynamic to spearfishing in a way. You know, I guess that's maybe the big boy league. But then he found the fact that I'm going on 2 meters of viz, because like there, the thing I found funny there, they're like 20 meters of viz is dirty water. And I was just like, you guys are crazy, man. Like, how can 20 meters of viz be like dirty? That's like the best day ever, like anywhere in the UK. Like they have like 20 meters of viz, and they like, for them, they say like 40 meters of viz is like when it's good. When you like going, it's like 40 meters deep and you can see the bottom clearly from the surface. That's when they say it's like clear water. I just thought that was just like,
did you use flashes when you were there, or did you just drop in pinnacles?
Yeah, so there you have to use the flasher. So you go, the guy, he gives you like a little bonitos, kind of like sort of like a chum bait, which you kind of obviously like put that in your belt, and then you throw the flash over the side, and you kind of obviously also have like a little bag of chum bait, and you kind of chum the water. You're going around. Obviously when you're doing that, sharks come in, all kinds of stuff kind of come in. I saw some big manta rays that just like swam past me the one day, which I thought was quite cool. And then you obviously have that, and it's a bit of a waiting game, to be honest. You're kind of jumping in and you're just hoping it's guns blazing. And there's a lot of days you're just out there and you just feel like you're kind of just lost out in the ocean. You're just waiting 2, 3, 4, 5 hours go by, nothing happens, and you go to the next spot. And then some days, the fish can come around and that, but it's just kind of just the waiting game as such, because the visit's obviously so good. And then all of a sudden from nowhere, you'll just see almost like a long looking snake kind of just like slowly coming in. And that's when you kind of got to get ready in that. And then one thing I found that's quite amazing over there, they dive so fast. It's one thing I wasn't sort of used to practicing. I always used to like just go slowly down, come slowly up, and that these guys are diving down in seconds. They just literally like straight down 10 meters, like almost feels like 2, 3 seconds. They're down like 10, 50 meters underwater. They're just motoring down there because they got to get to those fish really, really quickly. So I found that was quite impressive. And then just the distance they take the shots was also quite impressive. 5, 6 meter shots. They're not shy taking that. It was me, anything more than like sort of 2, 3 meters, I'm like, oh, this is too far away. I'm not. I guess the negative, I'm just used to fish literally swimming into me from like being in South Sea.
Yeah.
So from there, it's like, oh, I actually have to aim for once. Like I'm not used to this, I'm like almost point blank kind of shooting. So that was a bit of a change.
When I
Who did
shot
you
my
go out there
wahoo, we've got the video of me shooting the wahoo, and I've shown it to friends here, and they're like, "Fuck me, that fish was like on top of you. You could have kissed it." But
Oh,
for
you're
me,
lucky.
out there, it was like in reality, it was probably like 3 or 4 meters away, and it felt even more because I'm so used to not shooting fish that far away. But then you look back at the video, you're like, oh my god, he basically touched the gun. The viz is just so like disorientating. I don't know what
it is.
Yeah.
Daniel Mann
that was
called
another
it
thing,
something. I can't remember what it was.
Who did you go out there with, Grant?
I just decided, like I've just left the military. I left the military about 3, 4 months ago, and I just had like this time off, and I was just like, right, I could just go. And I just thought, you know what, I want to do some blue water spearfishing. I want to like shoot some pelagic fish. Over there you can shoot marlins. That was actually my main target species. So like I was like, right, I want to try to shoot a marlin or something like that, and obviously met this guy on Facebook. He seemed reasonable. What they charge for the day is nothing. I think it's like £50 a day to go out there for like a full day spearfishing. We're literally leaving at 7, getting back at like 5. So I was just like, sweet. And and the nice thing as well, like that's just so like whatever we shot as such, they also do a lot of fishing as well. So like if you've had enough of like say spearfishing, you go then you do like jigging and that. So he has to also do that for his livelihood. So like whatever's caught was also like that was what he was selling to like put food on the table for him in a way. So I kind of felt like I was also like sort of kind of helping him out in a way as such.
Right.
And I just went and got in contact with him, got like an Airbnb out there, and I was just like, right, I'm just go like exploring. And then I also met some like I met some Indian guys and some, I think it was a Serbian guy out there, and he was also a really good spear fisherman. And I kind of they came on the boat the one day, and then we all became like sort of best mates out of that. And then just they were like doing their own thing, and I kind of like would team up with them as such on the odd day. But just
That's
a bit
awesome,
of a backpacker sort of holiday.
Yeah, nice. So bringing it back to the UK a bit, obviously we're talking about the bream earlier.
Yeah.
So obviously you're targeting them now. How did you like? Is there a certain way to target them? Have you had to adapt? Like, how are you finding it?
Yeah, I'd say I always said to a lot of the guys I saw going spearfishing with now, and I say bream is like the hardest one to get because they keep the distance. And I was saying that also my mate that I was sort of take out Craig. I was like, you now need to practice hunting. You're good at diving. Happy days. Once you get good at diving, you're good at diving as such. As now hunting is like the new element of spearfishing. That's also I've seen with a lot of the professional spearfishermen out there. When you see their videos, they like really talk about the hunting aspects. Like how to kind of move through the water, how to be calm, how to be still. And that's one thing I say is like you really got to be so quiet. You got to like come down and like not go straight to the bottom because that's good. You have to kind of come down and like that last sort of meter, sort of like glide. So you're almost not touching the bottom, if that makes sense. You're kind of like almost flying along the bottom and then just like almost floating there, if that makes sense. and just not moving a muscle, and then just I always try like hide behind something as such, especially on the pinnacles. You almost know the fish should be there, but you just don't want to spook them. And then just when you get the gun out, don't like flinch it out, don't like grab it and just like straight at point. You just really got to kind of be, just everything's got to be so fluid. I find, especially for the bream. And then I always find, this is something I also notice, like, say if you're doing a minute 30 breath hold, you normally see them around like the minute mark, minute 20. So I always find them more towards the end of the breath hold, because they're so easily spooked. So like now, once you've been down there, you've been still for say a minute, that's when they kind of go like, okay, what's sort of going on here? Let's, like, the coast seems clear as such. That's sort of how I kind of think the bream sort of work in a way, and that's when they sort of come. That's how I've been able to get the last couple of bream I got lately. Was like that. But yeah, they're still scatty though. You make like one flinch and they just
yeah. They are definitely one of the most skittish fish I've ever shot, that's for sure. Yeah, you just have to keep still. You move a bloody inch and that's it, they're gone.
Yeah, really scatty.
Yeah, for sure. Have either of you lads had bream yet or not?
No, mate. It was supposed to be my target species this year, but I think we're running out of time.
Yeah. You need to go see Grant, don't you? You need to go do a weekend down there, mate.
Like taking one of my pinnacles,
I'm not convinced I've got the skills yet, to be honest. I don't think I'm quiet enough in the water. Like I'm like getting it, how different is it to a bass, like their behavior? Because I haven't even seen a bream, so either I'm going to the wrong places, which is probably part of the problem, or I'm scaring them all off, or I'm hunting in the wrong way. Like bass and pollock, like they've become like fairly, I don't want to say easy because that sounds silly, but like in the last year, like it's not been a problem. Like if you want to catch a bass, you know where you can find a bass, and you can do that. But I haven't even seen them.
Yeah, no, like for me, I always find they are of bass, and the ones I've shot have always been of bass. So, but I just find you just got like, normally what I'm doing is I'm just going there and I kind of am being stationary, and I'm just kind of like maybe moving within 2-3 meters from like where I've kind of hit the bottom. I'm not going to go like just swimming along as such. I find if you're definitely not going to get a bream. So from what I've seen, if you're just kind of like moving along as such, you kind of got to get there and maybe move 1 or 2 meters and then kind of just hide behind something and then just sort of just wait it out, and just it's a bit of a waiting game.
So it's not like the Kevin Daly where you go down and then you stay still for a minute and then you move and you hunt in some caves. It's not that kind of thing. It's more like just wait for them to come to you.
Yeah, a bit like that. That's probably how I've got my last 2 as such. I mean, I've done a bit of like swimming as such, but I am hiding behind stuff. I'm really trying to like kind of keep my shape really just like, like I'm trying not to like kind of show my presence, if that makes sense. Which I love. I look at that's like, proper hunting now. You really almost like trying to get camouflage. You're trying to get in there. You really try and like don't make a presence. With bass, I find sometimes they just come looking you straight in the face. They're not really too face. Especially when they're in a school, when they're in a school, they really get ballsy. They're just like, they'll just swim around you in circles and that. But yeah, that's sort of how I notice as such. But hopefully I get better. I've only recently just got my first sea bream like just a couple of weeks ago. So it is, for me, just like as a personal, I'm like, right, I must be getting better at hunting as such for these fish, because now I've actually got one and I've just recently got a second one. So I'm like, okay, because I know how hard they're to get, and then the fishermen always tell me, I get those all the time. I'm just like, this is like a really hard fish to get.
Yeah, right. How did you get yours, Rich? What was your story?
So I can't really say which wreck, but it was one of the wrecks. But we used, obviously me and Tony used some chum, and I've that was a big reason that we brought them in. But they are so skittish, man. You just move, like anything moves and they're just gone. I found like the fins were a big one. So like the minute you sort of like your fins moved or anything, I think because that's quite an imposing object, I guess. But tuck it in your legs, tuck in your fins, keep them really still. And then obviously the gilt head as well was the other one. I found the gilt head even worse. The gilt head, I think I've said the story before, I just laid on the surface for like, I don't know how long it was, like 40 minutes or something, just trying to get the perfect shot on it. Because the minute you move, they've just gone. It was you couldn't even move. Like you just had to lay there. So yeah, they are a very odd fish. I think it's one of those though, and this, Ben, like from the species hunt that we did last year. When you start to shoot different species, and you start to target them, and you learn the ways of how to hunt them, it almost does become easier in a way. But it kind of just starts to click, if that makes sense. I
Oh,
guess
definitely.
I haven't shot enough bream to say that, but like I'm talking about other species, it just starts to fall in place, and then you're like, okay, cool, that's how I need to do that, and then like you just know how to start shooting red mullet, for example.
Yeah.
You know, and like the first couple of years I've spearfished, I never shot red mullet ever, and it's just getting out there, trying different tactics, learning different things, and if you keep going out there and shooting bass and shooting mullet, you'll never learn those things. You need to kind of go off and look for other stuff, don't you? Really, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, good advice.
Yeah. So,
How's
have you
how's your shooting bass and mullet going, Richard?
oh well, I'll let you know. I'll let you know on
Oh, this
Saturday.
is weekend.
Don't shoot bass and mullet. Target the hard ones because I can't shoot the easy ones anyway.
Anthony, did you come last in the species comp last year between us three? I think you did, didn't you?
I wasn't competing.
Oh, okay.
I think if you listen back to the beginning episodes, I was actually saying that I didn't really want to be involved.
Was that because you shot all the easy ones to begin with, so you were in the lead?
No, it's because I spent the
think-
most amount of time in the water.
I think that's what happened, wasn't it?
I was
Anyway.
frothing on it for the first 6 months.
Oh, we love a bit of competitive nature.
Yeah.
God, yeah.
What's have you got any funny stories for us? I mean, obviously, there's got to be a few funny
Jeez.
things that happened with you.
I've had a few, man. Honestly, I've got ones ranging from Africa to the UK. I mean, geez, I don't know where you are. I'll start in the UK.
Give us your favorite one.
Oh, my favorite one. Fuck. I'll probably say my favorite one once is an African story, but geez, it always kills me. My dad, obviously, I grew up on a farm, and he came to me the one day. I was gathering with a mate, and he said, "While you're out there for your mate, could you just shoot this cow for me, please? It's like obviously got a broken leg in that." So I was like, "Okay, yeah, no stress. And we're just gonna come back to town with that cow." So I go then ask my workers. I was like, "Look, can you just bring my dad the cow? Can you go get this cow that's got the broken leg, please? I need to obviously shoot the thing." And they bring me a cow. It's got like, it's like obviously got broken legs, like hobbling around. And I was like, this cow looks quite mobile, it's like walking around, everything, So I ended up shooting it. Happy days. We bring all the meat back. And I remember when I came back to town that day, he's like, fuck, this is a lot of meat here. Like, like I was told from, that there's like, it's quite a small cow. And I was like, well, I shot the cow with a broken leg, what else you want to do? And I just remember like 2 days later, I get a phone call from him because he's not got the farm. He's like, "You fucking idiot. You shot the bloody wrong cow. There's another cow here on the freaking crawl that's also got a broken leg. That's like laying here because when it got offloaded from the cattle truck, it's like, she had its leg broken and it's like just laying there, can't even move and that kind of stuff." He's like, why did you shoot the wrong cow? Like, and I was like, well, I didn't realize you got like freaking like 5 cows walking on this farm with like broken legs and that, like can't make it any more specific as such, So yeah, flipping out. It was just like,
Okay.
I just remember
that
like
just
that
sounds like a
story.
good excuse to make more biltong, to be fair.
Yeah, well, that's what came to in a way. But he was just like, "Oh, well, that was like I like that cow," and I was like, "Well, flip, I don't even..."
See, vegans, we do like what we eat.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, man.
Yeah, I'm trying to think some other stories. A funny one. Oh, I remember once I was in Plymouth. Fuck, it was a funny one. This one, yeah. I was with my mate Harry, so we went out just to film, and we had a boat, really nice boat actually. And we had the first day we went out there, we caught tons of fish, and we must have eaten like 3 or 4 fish. We had like a massive fish fiesta, eating like fish and chips, Anyway, obviously we've eaten like kings the night before. I'm sure everyone's experienced this. Now it's like, next day comes, we both haven't been to the toilet yet, and it's about like midday time. So I'm like, look, mate, I need to go for a shit, And I remember it's quite a big swell. It's quite flat, but like quite a big swell. So he kind of brings us to this one little beach, and I'm like, look, man, I need to go shore somewhere. And I'm just seeing these massive fucking rolling waves going in. I'm just like, mate, they're like probably 10-foot waves. And I'm just like, mate, I'm gonna get absolutely just beaten to shit if I like try to swim into that. So look, we go somewhere a bit more like secluded. So we go like along the beach. And it was one of these hot days in Plymouth, and every single beach we went to had like fucking people everywhere. So I was like, well, I can't just like rock up on the beach and just drop my pants and just like let one rip as such.
Yeah,
and then I was like thinking, and we like literally going up, we like almost went up and down like the bay, like kind of like the entrance point to Plymouth there, and we ended up going across the sound as such. And like, it's not like an hour gone. We like now both saw like now I need the toilet as such. And I'm like going like, what do we just do in our suits? Like is this like normal? Like, like, and I don't really want to do like a flipping absolute dump in my suit, but I'm like going to like, is it going to come to that as such? And eventually we kind of come to this one sort of like kind of, how do I put it, like a bit of like a kind of inlet as such. But we had to kind of like sort of anchor the boat up in a way. So I ended up like just jumping out the boat, and I like fucking almost like literally shat myself trying to get to the flipping shore. And again, they're flipping out, like also like fucking out, having a shit in a wetsuit is like the most awkward thing ever. It must be like a woman when they like have leotards, like you like literally have to undo everything as such. Yeah, then like, but Harry, my mate, he's always doing the thing. He ended up like actually flipping, like actually having a shit in his suit. He like jumped in. He like just like fuck, I had no time, and like actually
What
had
is
like
wrong with
unleashed
these
it in his
people?
suit. And like had to like literally like kind of strip himself halfway off. Because Linda was like, "Oh, where'd you go?" Like, because obviously I had to go around the rock there, and I was like, "Well, he's needing." He's like, "Mate, I had to go in my suit," and I was just like, it just killed me. I was just like, Jesus, man, I actually like have to do in your suit. But yeah, we've got a good bit of laugh out of that.
I cannot tell you the amount of people we've had on here, and there's so many shit stories. It's unreal. Honestly, people shitting in their wetsuits and all sorts.
I really don't understand it. Like,
Not me.
Me and Ben are kind of like, are we too prim and proper? Like,
I just don't know why you can't go for a shit in the morning. Like,
yeah, go for a shit before you go diving. Or if your name's Davo, if you then realise that you need a second shit, just pull your cax down and go off the side of the boat. If one of us decides to then drive the boat or to turn it around in front of the visitors that are visiting the Orstone, then that's fucking hilarious. But the amount of stories I've heard where they've got like turds following you while you're in the water or shit up someone's hood, it's like fucking hell, boys, grow up.
I'm with you, Grant. I'm with you, mate. I've had to take a shit while I'm spearfishing, and yeah, the boys
Cornish turtle or whatever you call it.
Yeah, the Cornish sea turtle. I got caught out. I got caught out as well, and I just ripped down my bloody wetsuit and did the Cornish sea turtle in the middle of all the tourists.
How the fuck you lot have managed to become fully grown men and still aren't able to control your asshole? Me. Stop sticking things up your asses, boys.
No, you're not a proper Spearo until you've got a good shit story. That's it. That's it.
I'll just use yours, thanks. I'm all right.
No, one day it will happen, and it's going to be hilarious. But you'll be a proper Spearo.
So I've got a shit story, but So I was on the way over to one of our local haunts that I really enjoy diving, over towards yours, Ben.
Is that this week?
No. This was This was at the end of last season.
Yeah.
And it was fucking cold. Anyway, I left mine at about 5:30 in the morning to get there for first light. And so anyway, I get on the way there. I'd have my fag, add my coffee in the car, and as always happens, I didn't put two and two together. I'd had my coffee, had my fag. I hadn't had my shit. And so anyway, just about to pull down the little bit of the hill where you then turn right and we go and park near our little bit where you then walk down to it.
Yeah.
Just as before I get to that right, I'm like, whoa, hang up. No, I need a shit now. Like it was just instant. And it didn't feel right. And so anyway, I pulled over into like a little entrance of a farmer's field where it was gated. It was kind of in the middle of nowhere. There was a couple of houses down the road.
I know the gate.
Yeah, you know the gate. So anyway, I've parked my bus with its big like side opening door on the side, grabbing hold of the armrest of the middle seats and like squatting like in a toilet. Anyway, liquid fire came out. But it gets better. Right at the end of my little squit, I'm getting up, pulling my cax up, and out comes the fucking farmer. He's pulled up in his 4x4 the other side of the gate, and he goes, "You all right, mate? This is like fucking 5:30 in the morning. It's still dark." Like, yeah, sorry. I'm just about to go diving. I was dying for a wee, but there's just this stench of liquid shit in here.
Oh man!
Just like get back in the car and fuck off quick. But no,
it's good job
that's my shit story. There you go.
it's a good job we upload this podcast in the morning and not the evening when everyone's.
I'm sorry, Mr. Farmer. I know that you knew, and we both locked eyes halfway through, but I'm sorry. Dear, oh dear.
Oh, I don't know. Anyway, we should probably get wrapping up.
On
Grant,
that note,
have you got any big journeys or any anything planned for the future?
Oh, look, I like to do a bit more blue water, so I've been looking at like Madagascar maybe next year. And I like to get part of that dogtooth tuna club. I know that's like, everyone
Madagascar looks
talks about it,
insane,
that kind of
man.
stuff. So yeah, and I've heard good stories about places like that. So just obviously they look at trips like, they're a couple of £1,000, like to get out there and that kind of stuff. So they're not cheap. And unfortunately, when they kind of come to those prices, if you want to go for mates and that kind of stuff, most of them just like haven't got the money or like, just the time and that kind of stuff for it. So that's sort of like on the pencil at the moment. Maybe obviously, hopefully you get a £10 bass eventually, like straight enough bass. Like that's like, hopefully I can kind of be part of this elite club. It really bugs me in a way because I've shot so many of them, but just none, that you can kind of go like, wow, look at this, and I've been seeing them catching them, and they're caught in 11-pounder literally like off the beach that's just outside my house like last week. So it kind of like frustrates me that I know they're in the area and that kind of stuff. But it's one of those. And then you never know, like, obviously I'm training divers up at the moment. It has sort of wandered across my mind. Should I start my own school or something like that? Should I start, there's not really one that's doing it in the area that I'm in as such. So you never know down the line. The only thing is this viz is tough down here. So, like teaching people and that in the currents, it's one of those things like when you have to start charging for it, like, I don't know as such, but that could always be an option down the line. Maybe you start like a spearfishing school somewhere down the years as such, so.
Well, we'd definitely like to be the testers. We need to get up your way. I think with your ethos and attitude from what we've gathered through this episode, I want to get out with you and get back into that non-fair weather diving. And
I'd just go regardless.
Yeah, no, good man. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Cheers for really inviting me on the show, guys. Obviously, I've listened to you guys. I really enjoy obviously the show. Obviously, just learning new ideas. I started obviously if not much, or like knowledge in that, but it's just I've literally done the old school way of just learning through people talking, watching YouTube videos and just meeting other people as such, and just hearing ideas. We talk about the tourniquet. These are the things I just love hearing because you just think like, oh, I never thought about that. Tourniquet is probably like 10 quid. I'll get one of those in my bag. There you go, happy days. And you're just prepared for like the unexpected as such. It just comes through like just meeting people. I guess like yourselves, just hearing them, and then obviously people come in the show and just talking about their different experiences and that.
And before you go, we've heard a couple of times that you're am I right in saying ex-military?
Ex-military, yeah, ex-military.
What were you? Who did you serve with? Because
one
thing with the BSA, and sorry to go on and say, we've had there are a lot of forces or ex-forces, current serving forces, spearfishers out there, and they find spearfishing like an awesome sport to kind of focus your kind of I don't know whether it's determination or military training. But yeah, talk to us about that before you go.
Yeah. I mean, I've done 10 years in the military as a marine engineer, and like I enjoyed my time in the military. I've obviously also met a few people that do spearfishing in the military as well, and I think it's good, the sport and that kind of stuff of spearfishing. It requires focus. I even say the word punctuality, like, for certain spots, I have to obviously get there at certain times and that kind of stuff. That's just how the conditions are, especially of tides and currents. So I always find like that kind of obviously plays elements to it there as well. And I don't know, maybe I like the camo aspect. I've not gone down this little camo route of getting like fully camoed up and that, I know a lot of people are like, oh, you don't need it and that kind of stuff. I'm more do this more for aesthetic. But maybe for the bream and that kind of stuff, that's where I'd say now like good hunting skills and that kind of stuff, and maybe just having a bit of camo, and if you can blend into that environment, it's bound to help you. If the fish doesn't really know you're there and that kind of stuff, and you'll blend it in, and you can't see you. Yeah, you're definitely going to be a better hunter, to put it simply.
Nice.
Nice. Cool. Well, cheers for coming on, Grant. We really appreciate it, mate. Let's go.
Yeah, cheers, guys. I'll catch you all later and that kind of stuff. Cheers for letting me join the show.
Yeah,
thanks.
no worries,
Thanks
mate.
for coming. We'll definitely be getting up your way and getting out at some point
keep
soon.
me posted. Just drop me messages and that kind of stuff. I'm happy to take you guys out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sweet, man.
All right.
Thanks,
cheers,
Grant.
guys.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
See you later.
Cheers, Grant.
Yeah, that was awesome, lads. Bloody hell.
Nice one.
Nice bloke. I can't believe how long we were talking.
Yeah,
flew
it went on
by.
a while, didn't it? Yeah, it did fly by, to be fair. I'm fucking knackered, I know that much. But that was an awesome conversation. And yeah, really interesting to get other people's perspectives and stuff here.
100%. The only out of the entire thing, the only thing that I would say for the newer Spearos, and if you're going out with somebody that's experienced, is just try and, like, with weighting and stuff, safety. It's just everything about spearfishing. Your safety is paramount. I don't give a shit whether you want to shoot an 11-pound bass. I don't care whether you want to shoot a wahoo or whatever. Your safety's first. Don't be stupid, because, you know, like Grant was saying, you can be doing everything and be an experienced Spearo, and you could be caught out by something that you're never going to expect. Like the fishing wire that you got caught in. So just be fucking careful. And then after that, shoot fish in the face.
Yeah, definitely, mate, for sure. And it also just amazes me on people's perspectives on, like, what they're willing to go through in order to get the same fish as you, if that makes sense. So
100%.
like I don't know if I would go like spearfishing crocodile infested waters, or, like, you know, some dodgy piers and stuff. There's nothing wrong with that. I just, you know, it just depends what you prefer to do.
Well, he's given up crocs, swimming through croc infested waters, to now swim through condom and needle infested waters in Bognor.
Yeah, exactly that. And it's just, yeah, perspective is a strange thing, I think. And yeah, I guess it just depends where you live in the country and how much you froth on it as to what you're willing to do. Eh? But it sounds awesome. And to be fair, Dan, man,
Yeah, it
and
does.
Kev
I'd like
Daly
to go up there.
spearfish up there a lot, and they get some bloody good fish up there. So
Yeah, and the ground does look really interesting, and, like, it's just a bit different to where we are now. I guess it's quite well protected, like with the Isle of Wight in the middle and stuff like that. It's just that the viz is bad, so perhaps we'd be all right. You know, we're used to fishing in East Devon, where like 2 to 3 meters isn't that unusual.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing that I got from Grant, and that goes back to a couple of podcasts ago, where we spoke about being influenced by people in our WhatsApp groups, like, I don't want to say downers, but like with more feather weather divers than the frothers, is like, I've got Teignmouth Pier just down the road from me, and I've driven past it. I cannot even count how many times. Yeah. I've never dived it.
It's supposed to be all right as well, isn't it?
I don't know. But you see, you say that everything that I've heard is the complete opposite. Like, no, don't bother. Like, you probably might see a bass swimming through it that will be a schoolie. There's no flatties, blah 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 blah. But then I've actually heard, like, from people that I don't know, like, oh my god, have you not dived Teignmouth Pier yet? Like, it's amazing, but it's just like, get out there and do what Grant's doing and throw yourself in it. You love the sport. You love doing it. Stop making excuses.
Yeah, definitely.
Speaking of which, Rich, you're getting out this weekend for a change, aren't you?
Yeah, man. Dorset
Only because there's a
this
comp
weekend.
and he's big bollocks.
I have to try and keep my title. I won it last year, so let's see which one of you is going to win it this year.
The only reason you're going out is because you're holding the hand of your boyfriend and he's going to show you where the fish are.
Oh, come on. Get off it.
Dan, you are not allowed to show him any spots, even though this is going to be probably released after it's happened. So it's fine. Yeah. I accept the medal of the winner.
Well, it's going to be a good day, I reckon. The forecast is looking not too bad at the minute, so I think we'll do all right.
To it.
So what you
coming? Are you
I don't know. Currently full of vodka and coke, and I'm like, Dutch courage. Absolutely, I'm coming. But about 3 hours ago, I was more like, I'm going to cry myself in a corner. So,
oh mate, come out! You need it.
So
we all need it.
So in retrospect, because this will be released probably after the event, we're now talking about it in advance. What are your plans? Like, I don't want to know your full plans, but like, Rich, are you sure or boat? Ben, are you sure or boat?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. So we're launching in Dan's boat, and
Cool.
we're sort of headed towards Lulworth direction.
So are you going in a boat to go within 100 meters of shore, or are you going to pinnacles far out?
Well, no, we're both like diving pretty easy because it's been a while, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Wait, Dan hasn't been in for ages, has he?
Yeah, months. Well, same as me, months as well. So, and obviously, I'm getting over a chest infection. Got over it, but obviously, I don't want to push it. If that makes sense. So, just taking it really easy. We know, or say we know, Dan knows, quite a good amount of spots are like easily sort of diveable, but like whole fish, hopefully. So we'll see.
What kind of depths are you expecting?
Up to 10, really.
Cool.
Nothing too major.
Ben?
Honestly, I haven't decided yet. I'm going to wait and see what the forecast is. What are we now? Like Wednesday night we're recording this. So the forecast has just been so changeable. It's difficult to know what to do. But yeah, I like the idea of getting the boat out because now it's back. Hooray.
Hey,
yay, nice.
We can finally use it. We took it out for a bit of a test drive, me and Lou and the kids on, what was that, like Sunday? Over
Lou didn't message me and invite me.
No, nor did I, for obvious reasons.
Fucking, it's not very nice.
I'm only joking. Love you,
the
really.
kids love it.
The kids will just like, I've got a little video of them like properly screaming their heads, going, "Go faster!" Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, it's so sweet.
Nice.
They had a wicked time.
Yeah.
How was the boat for you?
What it's all about. Yeah, it was great, mate. Like I'd regretted pretty much every single day since buying it up until the weekend, and then I was like, "Oh no, it's fucking cool, isn't it?" Like,
good point. Well,
really cool. So, I haven't decided whether I can take the boat because it's a lot of faff, isn't it? Like, I reckon Lou was probably. She'll tell me she was in the water for about 3 hours while I was trying to, like, get everything ready.
And I would fucking believe her for being on the boat with you.
But yeah, there's a lot of faff in it at either end, and I'm a faffer. Like, I'll fully admit to that, and I'm sure you guys will attest to that. So, like, because we've got to be back at the finish point at, was it 4:30?
4:30, got to be back
if we're going out, and I make this promise on live on air,
yeah.
if I'm coming on Saturday and you want to take the boat, if you can take your boat, I will promise to launch it and recover it without you needing to faff, as long as I don't have to take my boat. I've got to be in Cornwall at fucking 6 o'clock for an alcoholic party.
It's cool, mate. Yeah. I mean, you're more than welcome to.
Who are you coming with? Who are you going with? Because I'm a fucking tag along.
Yeah, plan is me, Damon, and you. Whether it's in a boat or whether it's a shore dive. If it's a shore dive, we'll probably dive in a sheltered spot to the east of the bill, I guess.
Ben. You have a boat now. I have a boat now. We don't do poor man's shore diving. That's for the peasants.
I know, but
he's worried. I think he's worried about parking it and leaving it when he's having a barbecue, man.
There is that, mate. Yeah.
Parking it, but it will still be there when you get back. It's not got fucking legs. You then just drive out of the place that you parked it in and then drive home.
Well, Dan's parking is in the car park right next to it, if that's any
is he? Yeah. I mean, there is that whole like admin side of owning a boat and wanting to do something after it that just now, like, I'm just not used to all that stuff. Like faffing in Brixton.
Am I bringing my fucking boat?
No, mate. I'm happy to bring the boat as long as you
talk about it.
As long as you can make it. That would be great.
You should probably just tie me down now while I've had alcohol, and then like I'll play this back, and then I'll have to do it.
Well, no, we'll just say if he doesn't come, he owes us each 100 quid. There you go.
Yeah, mate.
I'm happy with that, Anthony. What do you reckon?
I will load my boat up now. I am not giving either of you £100.
Yeah, it's gonna be a cracking day, lads. I'm looking forward to it. I'm actually going on holiday on Friday, so I'm going to try and get as much diving in as I can this weekend. Only down to Dorset, never special. But yeah, so try and get in as much as I can. But yeah, I
Yeah,
reckon
cool.
it's going to be a good turnout. And
You're going on holiday to Dorset.
Yeah, I know. I pretty much
Don't you live in Dorset?
I live in Somerset.
It's
technically.
fucking same thing.
Well, yeah.
Don't
But,
fucking. Are you the kind that goes, I'm going on holiday? Where are you going? Butlins. Fuck me. It's not even a fucking holiday. What are you on about?
That's actually where I'm going. No, it's not. I'm joking.
Mate, didn't you go to Newquay last year?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
cool.
didn't. I went to Newquay for spearfishing with you
Oh,
guys.
right.
It's just we had to stay overnight, and so I bought Rachel the hotel. I was just there by
Oh,
a
I
coincidence.
see. Not, I mean, I like
Yeah,
Newquay,
yeah.
but that's, I don't think you can take the piss out of Rich.
Yeah. Well, besides that, so Dave Stevens is attending this year, so I don't think I've got much hope of fucking winning this one. But we'll see.
What, Dorset Open?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all right. He's not going to be going too hard because he's going to Spain next week.
I know, but it's still Dave Stevens, so I'm not getting my hopes up. But as your sugar daddy says, keep positive.
Yeah, Sugar Daddy's getting ready for Spain, so he's not going to be my. That's why I'm tag along for everybody else, because Dave was like, no, I'm too old. I've got to get ready.
Well, anyway, yeah. So lads, looking forward to it. Let's wrap this up because I'm fucking tired.
Right, you go to bed, mate.
It was good chatting to you guys, and yeah. Well,
I look forward to seeing Ben
on the next...
raise the medal and not you.
I was gonna say on the next episode, we'll see who's the victor.
That's it.
Looking forward to it. Cheers, lads.
Ben, if you find another cup, mate, you are definitely drinking out of this one.
What?
If you find another cup,
I did drink out of it. It tasted horrible. I'm not doing it again.
Yeah, but that was because that was Richard's nut juice. Yeah. Right. See you boys on Saturday afternoon / evening.
Yeah.
Cheers, lads.
Otherwise, you owe me 100 quid. Cheers, lads. Have a good one.
See you later.
Bye.
Yo.